Darkness kills, destroys the will. Find a spark, make hearts thrill. Hear the tales of time so grim. Shine a light, don't let it dim. Heather Brown downtown, bound. True crime story she's found. In the shadows, secret stay. Need a light that finds the way.
Hello. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Defeating the Darkness, True Crime Stories with Downtown Heather Brown. That's me, your host. I'm a former homicide and sexual assault prosecutor here in Orange County, California, and I love to bring people on my show who have brought some light to someone in their darkest hour. And tonight, I'm super excited to have with us he's now retired, investigator Ray Wert from the Orange County Sheriff's Department. And we are going to discuss a very important murder trial that happened here in Orange County of a case of a man by the name of Chris Smith who was murdered. And Ray helped with the investigation of that murder case, and took the DA, Matt Murphy, through that case as well. We'll be talking about Matt Murphy a little bit tonight too. And
Yes.
So Ray and I are going to talk about that case. So welcome to the show, Ray.
Thanks for having me. Very much appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
It's an honor and a privilege.
No, the honor and privilege is mine. I'm super excited that you're here, and I want to hear all about your career with the Sheriff's Department in Orange County, and then we'll move on to this case. So, Ray, tell me a little bit about, you were a homicide investigator, but I'm assuming you didn't just get dropped into the homicide unit. So tell us about your law enforcement experience. How long were you an investigator?
I was an investigator for 12 years.
Okay.
So almost half my career.
So how long were you a police officer?
27 and a half years.
Okay. That's a long clip.
Yeah. It was a good run.
All with the Sheriff's Department?
All with the Sheriff's Department.
Okay, here in Orange County. That's awesome.
Yes.
So you must have had a ton of different assignments along the way.
Yeah, that was the nice thing at the Sheriff's Department. You get to do a lot. I'm lucky. I got to do everything I wanted to do. The jail wasn't the most prized gem of my career, but that's where we all start as deputy sheriffs.
I was just about to ask you about that. So a lot of people don't know that, right? Because people are like, I want to be a patrol cop or a gang cop or a homicide cop, but depending on what department you work in, and you were a sheriff for the Orange County Sheriff's Department, you actually every deputy has to do a stint in the jail, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
And I was assigned to the men's central jail in Santa Ana, the oldest, smelliest, nastiest jail in the county.
Is it really bad?
Yeah, and it hasn't changed.
Do you know, okay, I just have to tell you this funny story about the jail. I had a serial killer, Stephen Gordon, who's on death row in San Quentin. And he was down here. It was about the co-defendant, Frank Cano, who they were raping and murdering prostitutes. I did a couple episodes about that one. But when he was down here, he was complaining. He was like, when am I going to get to go back? And I was like, he wanted to leave Orange County Jail and get back to death row. And I was like, so we should have sentenced you to Orange County Jail instead of death row, right? Apparently, even according to the serial killer, Orange County Jail was worse than death row.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, death row, when they used to have a death row.
Yeah. Till Newsom dismantled it.
Inmates.
Boo, hiss, boo, hiss. Go ahead.
Some inmates wanted the death penalty because going to death row was better housing, especially better than the men's central jail in Santa Ana. So, yeah, it was kind of some inmates' goal to get to death row.
And is that because it's overcrowded and underfunded?
Well, I think now nothing's overcrowded because no one goes to jail anymore, but hopefully that's starting to change.
From your lips to God's ears, baby.
Yes, and but I think it's just the design of the jail and just the fact that it's so old, and it's a linear type jail. So, you can't really see everybody like you can, and how they're doing the pods now, the new California jails, like the open type designs.
So it's about the design of the jail, the age of the jail, and the stink.
And yes, and the cells at the men's central jail, you look from your cell straight into a wall, or maybe glass that's tinted so you can't see anything. So you don't have the view of other inmates, which I guess is more appealing than a wall.
At least like kind of do a little people watching, right?
Yeah.
To pass the time versus just looking at a wall.
Yeah.
That must like psychologically, not that I'm feeling sorry for the inmates, but I mean, some of them, but not like this guy we're about to talk about. But because I'm okay with Shin looking at a wall the rest of his life. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But it must drive him mad, don't you think?
Well, I think it probably isn't a pleasant experience, but I think it serves a purpose, and maybe has rehabilitated some people. I like to think and hope that there are some who say, after being there, I don't want to go back to that place.
Right? Like if you make it too nice and they get to play bocce ball and get 3 hots in a cot, like why not go rob another bank and then,
Right.
lay around and read my books and get my computer and my iPad and all that nonsense they give them now.
Yes.
It's
and
ridiculous.
Back when I worked there, that's inmates could smoke in the jail. That was before the county had an ordinance. And so you would have a couple thousand inmates in the jail smoking. And at the end of your shift, you smelled like an ashtray.
That's disgusting.
It was nasty.
I didn't know. It's been so long since, now you can't smoke anywhere.
Yeah, it was nasty. It was disgusting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
God, you're good. It's good thing, like, lucky you don't have cancer or something from
Yeah.
secondhand smoke.
Well, that and all the asbestos that was, I don't know if it's still there or not, but it was a nasty place to work,
Oh, my gosh.
And I got to go home. All my partners got to go home, but, these guys stayed there, so.
Wow. Okay, so you got out of the jail after how many years were you
there? 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and
then what?
And then I went to patrol, which all the deputies do if they choose to go to patrol. Did my patrol time, Laguna Hills, Lake Forest, and the Transit Authority, which was great because Transit Authority, just the whole county, you get to go anywhere there's a bus stop is your jurisdiction. Anywhere there's a train track is your jurisdiction. So it was fun. It was a good time.
Oh, that's cool. And did you have like cool partners along the way?
Yeah, I had good the whole time. The whole time. And, working transit, I got to work with other agencies, Anaheim, Fullerton, Santa Ana, those quite a bit, as well as other areas at the Sheriff's Department. So got to know a lot of people and network, and it was a blast. And then after that, I promoted and went into narcotics, where I did 7 years, and that was a blast.
Were you like,
was great.
Did you ever go undercover?
Yeah. I had a ponytail and.
No way.
Yeah,
do you have a picture? You got to send us a picture so we can post it.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So you had was it like a little rat tail or?
Yeah. My hair kind of curled, kind of like yours a little bit. So it was a lot longer, but it curled up and was almost like a man bun, but if you stretched it out, it was curl. It was, it would go straight, and then it would curl right back up. So.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, so you were rocking the ponytail, and
right.
You'd go on. Did you have like a deep undercover name or something?
We had identifications, government issued identifications that had our fake information, and we had our burner phones.
Did you get to pick a fun, cool name?
It wasn't really that fun and cool, but I don't remember what it was. But yeah,
you don't even remember the name?
No,
you weren't like Donnie Brasco.
No,
come on, I would have picked something cool.
I wasn't. Yeah, I just remember the first name was the same. It was a different last name.
That way you didn't screw up. And
right.
then people are like, Ray, they're like, Jimmy, yeah. And you're like, who the fuck's Jimmy?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's smart.
Yeah.
Use your first real name, but just your real first name. Did I say that wrong?
Yeah,
your real first name, but give the fake. I got you.
It was cool, during that time, street narcotics, and then worked interdiction at the airport. That was a blast.
What did you just say? What was
Interdiction.
What the heck is
we
that?
would kind of profile, for lack of better terms, people at the airport. And
I'd love to do that, Ray.
yeah, we'd profile, airline tickets, how they were purchased. We'd had friends in the airlines who would, kind of tell us, hey, here's this one looks good. Last minute, one way JFK to cash, one way last minute, and then we'd hit them and talk to them, and they would give up their suitcase full of a couple $100,000, and they just wanted a receipt for it, so they didn't get killed.
Oh, like the drug dealers, they were bringing the money back from selling the drugs, and they didn't want to get whacked, so they were like, the cops confiscated it so that they knew that they were telling the truth.
Correct. Yeah,
like,
and they wanted that receipt. They needed the receipt, and they begged for the receipt, and we would, of course, that was our policy. We'd give them a receipt, and I don't know what happened after that. Some of them, I don't know if that was good enough.
Never saw them again.
Yeah, but they would sign off that money real quick, or the drugs. We got that too, so that was a good time. And then did meth labs for 3 years when there used to be meth labs in the county. There's really no meth labs anymore. They all stay in Mexico now. They don't come here. Cartels don't allow it. And,
really? Why is that?
Yeah. It's just all the ingredients. It's just easier to ship in to Mexico and do everything there, because we
started cracking down on like the what's it called?
The pseudoephedrine.
Yes, thank you.
All the Smurfers, we worked that really hard.
Wait, what's Smurfer?
So Smurfers, yeah.
You got to break down the cop lingo for us, Ray.
The Smurfers would just go from, at that time, Target stores, Walmart stores, CVS stores, and they'd have a carload, and they would have maps of California where every Target, Walmart, and CVS were, from Sacramento to San Diego. And they'd come down, 4 or 5 people get out of the car, and they'd go and Smurf the pills, either steal them or purchase them. And going, all the way down the state, they would do it, and then all the way back up north. Typically, they went back up north because that's where they're doing the cooking, and they would just have a carload of pseudo pills, and because of that, that's why the law now, when you go buy cold medicine, you have to show your ID.
Case. You're like, oh my God,
yeah.
I already feel like crap, and now I gotta call for the manager.
Right. So yeah, you could take the cops for that because legislation went into effect about that.
Okay, so I can only imagine that when I have like a migraine or a headache, and I go to open those packs of like take a actual for legitimate purposes, like I want to lose my mind trying to get one single pill out of those blister packs. Is that why did they do that as a deterrent to the meth lab, or?
No, they would take all the pills typically to a house, and then there'd be people in the house, and their job was just to pop the pills out of all the blister packs all day, every day.
That is
nonstop.
the worst job on the planet. I want to lose my mind just opening one migraine pill.
Yeah. It was quite the production.
How much does that go for? Like, how much would you have to pay someone to open blister packs of cold medicine all day?
I don't even know now, but
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was quite.
I mean, there are worse jobs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's pretty clean, not dirty. Mm-hmm. Just, I don't know, get blisters on your thumbs.
Fingers. I wouldn't. I would just be enraged by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay. So wow. So meth labs. That's so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And so now they're all in Mexico.
All the labs are in
Breaking
Mexico.
Bad's gone south.
It's gone. There'd be no. Yeah. Today there'd be no Breaking Bad. There used to be a lot of Breaking Bad, but nope.
Wow.
Not anymore. So
That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. So you go from now you're undercover. You're Ray Brasco. I'm giving you my own.
Yeah. Little Donnie Brasco or whatever.
Brasco.
Yeah.
I love that. If you've never read that book, you should read it. Anyway.
Good movie too.
It was a great movie. Ray Liotta, right?
Uh-huh.
He died recently. I love that guy. He was so good.
Yeah.
He died, right?
I believe so. And Val Kilmer.
I hope I didn't just kill him. But I loved that movie and that book.
Yeah.
I read it in law school.
Okay.
So you and I went to the same college.
We did.
Just told me
LMU
that tonight.
Lions. Woohoo.
Go Lions.
Yeah, that's right.
We missed each other. I think we were ships
Yeah,
passing.
yeah. You got there and I was leaving.
Yep,
So,
yep.
yeah.
Too bad. We would have had fun and partied when we were in
Yeah,
college, right?
yeah.
And then you became a sheriff. All right, so you go to the jail, then you work your way up to the undercover narcotics.
Right.
How long were you there?
So I did 7 years, which at that time there was a rule. You could only work narcotics for 7 years. I don't know why that was a rule.
The itch, 7-year itch.
I don't know. Yeah. And so the captain at the time, and I won't mention who that was, but that was a rule that they had. And so I was asked, where do you want to go? And I said, well, I want to go to homicide. And they said, well, before you go to homicide, you got to go to sex crimes. No offense. I said,
Hey, that's my jam.
I said, I'm not going to sex crimes. There's
Okay.
no way. I guess I'm not going to homicide then.
There's some people that it's just not for them.
It's not, right.
And you know what mine was? Child abuse. You could put me in any unit. I will, sexual abuse I could handle, homicide I could handle, but child abuse where you're like burning kids with cigarettes and whipping them. No, I don't want any part of that. And I would
yeah,
have
but
refused
you got sex crimes against kids though.
Yeah,
like
I know. I know. And oftentimes it's worse,
Yeah.
but for some reason, the physical, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I just, so I guess I'm not going to homicide. And luckily the sergeant at the time, Yvonne Scholl, phenomenal homicide investigator, was a supervisor, and she worked her magic and got me in there. So
Yay.
yeah.
Oh, thanks, Yvonne.
So, yeah.
We're so happy that she did.
Yes.
Because you were instrumental on the case and then, okay, so after narcotics, you then went to homicide and you were there for how long?
5 years until I promoted, and then
You went into management?
I did. Well, sergeant. So
so then you have to go back to patrol, right?
yeah, I was in the jail for 2 years, and then I went to John Wayne Airport for a month.
Okay.
And then I got pulled out of there and sent to traffic because our traffic unit was doing more homicides than our homicide unit. So at that time,
the vehicular homicides.
Yeah. So went back kind of into homicide again, which was great, but I knew nothing about I hated traffic. I would go out of my way to talk people into exchanging information so I didn't have to write a stupid traffic report. It was horrible. So, but it was ironic that I went there, but I was glad I did because there's a lot of smart people doing that stuff.
Yeah, there really are accident reconstructionists and the works.
Yeah, which I guess nowadays they don't really do reconstruction, but they do a lot of, vehicular homicides and stuff and manslaughter. So yeah,
Sure.
Important job.
All right, well let's get to the juicy case that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So tell us about this. Tell us. I wonder if we should start the story with like what happened, or start from where you get involved and work our way through.
Yeah, I mean this was my last homicide case before I promoted, so it was a heck of a case to go out on. Unconventional case. It was a cold case when I got it, and it had been.
Tell our listeners, for those that don't know, because I'm sure a lot of you do, but what is a cold case?
So a cold case is typically, they say the first 48, your solvability rates are pretty high. And then after that, every passing day, the case becomes cold. So I don't know what the magic number is. Some people say a month, some people say 6 months, a year. Then it becomes cold. In other words, there's no leads, but this wasn't a homicide case at the beginning. In fact, at the beginning, it was really nothing because it was just this person, Chris Smith, who just, according to what everybody thought, just went on this extended vacation. And obviously suspicions grew, and the suspect, Ed Shin, I'll say his name early, I guess. I don't like saying their name, but it's important.
Yeah, they know who the monster is that murdered
a
this young
sociopath,
man.
for sure.
Sociopath.
He assumed Chris's identity and was emailing the family. So that's why everybody thought Chris was just on an extended vacation on a surfing trip, being like what Matt Murphy does every day and surfs and, doesn't return
We're calling
phone
you out,
calls.
Murphy.
He doesn't return phone calls, doesn't sign books,
He big leagues us all the time.
Oh, yeah.
He does it to me too, Ray, but I love the guy.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, he did return my call the other day.
Yeah.
But just for the record, Murphy, Ray would like his book signed.
Yeah.
And you brought his book with you. Were you hoping he might be
No,
here?
I figured I'm going to have you sign it.
I'm going to sign it.
Yeah.
I'll just...
Because you got a chapter in it.
I do.
Yeah, chapter, the one right after
I got
my
a mention.
chapter.
I got an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Not a whole
No,
chapter.
it's the last chapter of the book. It's the
The Nairi case.
yeah, it's the grand finale.
It is the grand finale. I did make the grand finale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
did.
chapter 9, you were chapter 10. You
Yeah.
beat me.
Right? I did, huh? Well, you technically beat me, right?
Yeah, I
But
don't
it's
know.
okay. I was the grand finale.
Yeah.
Thanks, Murphy.
Right.
But yeah, Ray wants his book signed if you're
Yeah.
listening, which you're not because you're
Yeah.
too.
You
big
can just
league
write
guys.
his name in. That's fine.
I'll write it in.
Yeah.
I promise
Yes.
I will. Okay, so Chris Smith goes missing. I mean, they don't know he's missing. They think he's gone on an extended vacation. And why is that? Tell us about that. Why? What Ed Shin did when he assumed his identity to make the family believe that their he had a fiance, a woman, who he was engaged to be married to. Or
Yeah. There was some serious talk about that.
they were
Yeah.
planning on getting married.
Yeah.
And he had a brother, Paul, and his parents, who obviously loved and adored him. And tell us about what Ed Shin did.
Yeah, so I guess going, back, Chris and Ed Shin met at another company out in Riverside, California, which is adjacent, borders Orange County, California. And they both decided to leave that company and form their own company called 800 Exchange. And unbeknownst to Chris, Ed was ripping off the owner of the company in Riverside, who kind of was mentoring Ed Shin and took him under his wings and thought, they were both Christians, because Ed Shin kept saying, how Christian he is, and really used that as a tool to get this guy to hire him and trust him and bring him into his company's fold. And Ed Shin ripped him off just massive amounts of money and then left. So Shin and Chris Smith formed their own company. They moved to San Juan Capistrano, southern Orange County, nice area, Mission San Juan Capistrano, and formed this company. And within the first year, Ed and Chris, these guys made about 10 to 12 million in their first year.
Wow.
Selling ads. These guys had money coming in like crazy, right?
That's awesome.
And Chris discovers there's now a criminal case and a civil case in Riverside County because Shin was ripping his former boss off. And Chris is like, man, I don't want any part of this guy anymore. I need to get out. And that's when Chris started telling and he had already brought his brother, Paul, into the company to work because they were making so much money. They only had a half dozen people working, and brought Paul down, and then discovers this, and then starts making arrangements to try to get out. And that's
because he doesn't want to be tied up with a criminal, a shyster, and someone,
right.
Snake oil salesman.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. And
Shim Shammer.
yeah, and he's, Chris is still young. They're both young, early 30s. He doesn't want his reputation tarnished by this guy he's worried about taking him down. And in that business, you lose your reputation.
And didn't he learn? He learned that that Ed Shin in that Riverside case was basically being ordered to pay a large sum. I think it was like $700,000 in restitution.
Yeah, and plus there was a civil lawsuit. So this was heating up big time right before Chris left, allegedly, just, vanished, was killed. And that was June of 2010. So he was working on this separation for a couple months. He knew, and Shin wouldn't let Chris see the books. Chris wanted 2 signature authority on checks. Shin didn't want any of that. And Shin was just blowing money like crazy. So
what was he blowing the money on?
Everything. He loved Vegas. He loved arm candy. He loved prostitutes. He loved chartering jets. He loved gambling. A lot of gambling. A lot of girls.
Drugs.
I'm sure there was, but definitely a lot of. We had witnesses that said they'd go to bed and Shin was at the table with stacks of $500 chips. They'd wake up, go down the same table. Shin was there. He'd been there all night. And so Chris was worried about all the profits that they had made are all going to his gambling habit. And so Chris was just doing whatever he could to try to get out of this horrible, nightmare that he was in. Chris is living in Laguna Beach, got an ocean view apartment, just stares he loves surfing, just an outdoors good guy. His brother Paul, really tight. His dad, who was a firefighter, a former cop, and his mom, they were all very tight-knit family. And that's why when Chris went vanished for this alleged
Off-grid,
vacation.
when he no longer is, calling and seeing people.
Right. So there's this particular Friday afternoon in June. It's June 4th, 2010. There's a lot of dialogue between Chris and his attorney about finalizing this arrangement. And
to get disentangled from Ed Shin.
Yeah, to get away from him. And then all of a sudden, around 6 p.m., Chris's attorney got a fax. Of course, I don't think he saw it right away, but he got a fax with a signed agreement of dissolution of Chris's partnership in the company. And it was strange because Chris was having a real hard time getting Shin to buy him out because Shin, he didn't want to do it because he didn't have the money. He's got $700,000 restitution. He just got notified the week prior. He's got to pay off.
But this business is making millions. So
right.
Where's the money?
Yeah.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. And that's exactly what Chris was saying. Show me the money.
Like he was kind of like, probably thinking like, why, it's $700,000. We just made $12 million. You could pay that off in a hot second. Why are you not? But he was worried.
Yeah.
So he wanted the passcodes and the access to the bank accounts to see what was going on. And unbeknownst to him, what was happening, Ray?
Shin was blowing this money like crazy at Vegas, just dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars in one sitting. He'd lose a couple $100,000.
And the private jets can't be cheap.
Well, Shin was also getting, the casinos were flying him out there on the private jets because they were making so much money off him. They were giving him these massive suites, 2-story suites in Vegas and a private jet to get out there. So Shin's doing his, men's Bible study group, and he's telling the guys in his Bible study in one room while the wives were in the other room, hey guys, I could get you on my jet. We'll go to Vegas and have a good time. And a lot of these men who are in this men's group with him are like, this kind of counter of what we're doing here in our men's Bible study, But Shin was living this double life.
That's just despicable. There's a very special place in hell for Ed Shin, I think, because you know what? To use, someone's faith and their Christianity to try to lure someone into, like give them a false sense of, like the people in Riverside that he worked with, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I'm, Mr. Christian, and pretending that cannot go over well.
Right.
Big man upstairs. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And, this was going on. This was Shin's life. This is who Shin was 10 years prior to this. We did just a massive amount of research on Shin. And this guy faked his own kidnapping.
What?
He faked his own kidnapping and sent a ransom note to his own parents from his dad's computer in his dad's house, saying that he was kidnapped. And he staged his own apartment, knocked over lamps, moved furniture, threw papers around, staging his own kidnapping to embezzle $1 million from his parents for a ransom.
That's unbelievable.
And that's who Ed Shin was. He was all about the money and all about ripping.
The FBI got involved in that one and solved that pretty quick when they checked the IP address, right? Of the email.
Yeah. I mean, of course, Ed's own parents were just floored. They were devastated. They were scared to death that something happened to their only son. And they called the Irvine Police Department at the time, and the FBI got involved. And yeah, like you say, pretty quickly they discovered
Tracy Hanlon handled that one. That's one of our close friends.
Yeah.
I read the reports, Ray, and I was like, oh, that's Tracy. She was amazing. And she figured out real quick the IP address of the email, where the ransom email or extortion email was sent was from Ed Shin's home or his dad's home.
From his dad's house, from his dad's computer, but Ed Shin sent it.
What a dummy.
I mean, that's who he is, And
do you think that his parents talked to him after that?
They absolutely did. They were there every single day of court.
All right, I'm just saying right now, Nick Brown, if you fake that you've been kidnapped and send a ransom note to try to extort money out of me, you're dead to me. Just for the record. There's some things as a parent no, we're not going back to me coming to your court case every day after you murdered someone either.
Yeah.
Not happening.
I tried to interview.
I shouldn't say that. I should be more forgiving, but I'm sorry. I'm just not
certain
that evolved.
things.
I'm just not that evolved yet, Ray. I'm working on it.
Yeah,
though,
I don't know. Tequila, whiskey, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if there's enough tequila for me to forgive my son for trying to extort me and fake. I don't know.
Yeah.
There might be.
Yeah.
Well,
I wouldn't be at trial every day either, going to Santa Ana and, paying $20 a day for parking to sit there and support a monster. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah. Don't be a monster. How about that?
Yeah.
Just don't
How
be a
about
monster.
just don't be a monster?
Yeah.
That'll be the name of this episode.
Yeah.
Don't be a monster, like Ed Shin.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. So, wow. All right. So back to the case. So Chris is trying to get out of this situation. It's abort. Let me get out of this because he's being sued. And so his attorney, you were telling us, his attorney gets a strange email or a fax that says we've resolved all issues and Ed's bought me out of the company for a bunch of money and some gold coins, right?
And everything's good. And I'm taking off and I'm going to the Galapagos Islands. And then from there, I'm going to go see the world and I'm just going to get away. And Chris had talked about that, right? But everybody in his family was he talked about it, but this didn't seem like the time when he would do it. He just started this new company, making a ton of money. Now this stuff is going on.
And he's got a fiance or a gal that he's in love with and he wants to start a life with.
But
so it seems odd, but he has talked about it.
He has talked about it.
And just being the surf guy, like Murphy wants to be, and travel the world and surf.
Yeah. And sometimes Murphy does that, right?
He does.
So
we're just ripping on you, Murphy, because you won't sign Ray's book.
That's right. He's like, hey, look at me. I'm with the fish and all this other stuff, whatever. So
the sharks.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh my God, there's a great white.
Whatever, dude. Yeah, so.
Don't you just love to hate on Murphy? You know why? Because he's so darn charming. Like when he speaks, his voice is like a siren, and he's, the ladies love him.
Oh, yeah.
And he's so smart, and he just wins everything. It's like
Right.
somebody's got to like knock him out at the knees.
Yeah, he just makes me
I'm
sick
just a girl
sometimes.
to do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So, love you, Murphy.
We love you, Murphy. It's all out of love, Murphy.
Right. Yeah.
Pete, this better be the short clip because he will never actually listen to my podcast, but he might see the clip on Instagram.
Yeah, we'll tell him.
We'll tell him.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
I love you. I actually love and adore Matt Murphy. I really do. He's so smart. I love that guy. I hate him because he's so good.
Yeah.
All right.
He
So,
is.
and Murphy, for those of you listening, actually tried this cold case, this
Yeah.
no body cold case,
Yeah.
and won it like
Yep.
he always does because he's a winner.
Yep.
Just why
yeah.
we
So we gave it up, but yeah, I mean, Murphy. The jury came back in 40 minutes on this case and convicted this guy. 40
I'd like
minutes.
to say it was a cherry, but it wasn't, Murphy, and I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, that was. I mean, amazing. And
He's just that good.
yeah, it was a good case, and it was.
Well, he must have had a great investigator too.
Yeah, it was a good team. The whole team.
Yeah,
I mean,
the whole team.
The forensic
Okay, so let's
people,
get back to this juiciness. So Chris wants to get out. The lawyer gets this crazy email like, I'm going to go travel the Galapagos Islands. The parents get the same type of email, correct?
Yeah, so this is Friday. The attorney gets the fax, and then starting Saturday, the girlfriend gets a text. Hey, I'm breaking up with you. I met somebody else. I'm going to the Galapagos Islands. She's completely heartbroken
And devastated.
Devastated. Like her life just got flipped upside down.
What a dick. That's such a psychopath move.
Yeah.
Right?
And of course, Shin's doing all this, and then the family is getting emails throughout the whole weekend, right? And then everybody in the office, Shin is sending emails to his staff saying, hey, we're restructuring the company. Chris is no longer part of the company. You're going to be off the next week. Don't come to the office. Do not come to the office, emphasizing that. And there's a reason why.
I wonder why, Ray.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Right.
This is juicy, you guys. Okay.
So, yeah, all these emails are going out.
So for like a week, Ed
Yeah.
Shin's like, don't come to the office. Do not come here. Chris
Right.
is gone.
Yep.
I'm in charge. What about the brother? Is he still working at the company?
He's still working at the company, right? So he's
And has the brother gotten the email like, hey, brother, I'm off to the Galapagos Islands
Well, the
with
next
this
week-
new girl?
the brother and his family. So Paul and his family fly into John Wayne Airport. Chris is supposed to pick him up. Chris no-shows, doesn't call him, doesn't message him, doesn't pick him up. So Paul is like obviously freaked out about this because he's been on vacation. He hasn't got any emails yet. That's how he discovers something's going on. And so you just have a flurry of activity going on at the office. And Shin says, we're going to be painting the office, getting the carpets cleaned. It's like a new beginning for the company. So don't come here.
Bullshit. Right?
And of course, nobody's bullshit meter's going off because they're like, cool, man, we get to work from home. We don't have to go in the office and we could just chill and we're getting paid. And there's even hints Shin's putting out there that everybody's going to get a bonus. And sure enough, he gives all the office staff a bonus, like thousands of dollars. It was different for each person, but they all get bonuses too. So the staff is like super happy. You know? The
I mean,
family,
like a week off without,
Yeah.
with pay and a bonus.
and a bonus
And a new paint job in my
And a new-
office,
yeah,
new
and-
carpet.
yeah,
This
nice
place
co-
is amazing.
Right. The family, of course, is not so much because Chris has left them for this vacation that they weren't expecting. And that goes on for 6 months. the family getting these emails from Chris's account. And of course, they start to grow suspicious.
And what are these emails saying, Ray?
I'm going to Peru now. I'm going to Argentina. I'm going to Africa. I met a guy. He's going to put me on his boat now, and we're going to go, cruise the ocean adjacent to Africa. I'm a little worried, though, because there's a lot of pirates there. So he's almost setting up in
laying
these
the
emails.
groundwork for if he goes dark and doesn't continue to email the family.
Exactly. And
now they're like, he must have been murdered by pirates or
right
in this, dangerous country doing
Right.
something, exotic.
Exactly.
Okay.
And, over time, the emails get fewer and further in between because Chris, aka Ed, is saying, I'm only going to be able to email when I get into port. And it's, there's times it's going to be a month, it's going to be weeks that I can't. So he's laying the groundwork for just slowing the emails down, and then eventually they're going to stop. Sure enough, around Christmas time, they stop. But some of the emails get real cruel about, my childhood really wasn't that great, and I've kind of contemplated suicide. So
and
now
he's sending this to the parents.
So besides pirates, now parents are like, well, there's pirates, and now he's contemplating suicide. Like, where is all this coming from? So Chris's dad sends an email back to test him because his spidey senses are going off, red flags everywhere. And he's like, what's the name of that lake that we used to go to all the time? Just kind of tries to nonchalantly put that in there. And what was the name of our first boat? Well,
and Chris used to love the water and love the home that they grew up on.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was going to be he was trying to be a professional water skier, but then he got injured, or wakeboarder, I think. Yeah.
Wakeboarder, right.
And he got injured, and that ended that. But
he was an amazing wakeboarder and surfer and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And the email comes back from presumably Chris, and the answer is Kelly Lake. So that was the lake, but he didn't answer the name of the first boat. So at the same time this is all going on,
unbeknownst to Dad.
Yeah. And then the email goes to Paul, the brother from Ed, saying, hey, what's the name of the first boat we had? So he could try to get the answer back to the dad, because he didn't know it. He knew Kelly Lake because Chris had that written down as one of his passwords in his desk.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's how Shin knew he was able to get his passwords. That's how he was able to hack his email accounts. And at the same time this is going on, Shin moves 800 Exchange out of the office. And the property management company in San Juan Capistrano goes to a tenant who's a private investigator named Joe DeLue. And they go, hey, we need to find this guy because he owes us thousands of dollars in rent. And he just up and left. So that's how now we get it.
So Shin moved the office out of the San Juan Capistrano location.
Correct.
Did he move it to a new location?
He moved it to Mission Viejo.
With everybody, including Paul, the brother.
Yeah, everybody in the office minus Chris. And because Chris has been bought out, right?
But he absconds, if you will. What's the word? He
just stopped paying.
He stopped paying rent.
Yeah, he stopped paying rent
And
for
broke
months.
the lease and didn't pay the rent.
Right, and
So
just left.
The property management company is like, let's find this guy so
Right.
we can shake him down for the money that he owes us.
Right.
I don't mean shake him down in a bad way. I
Yeah,
mean in a good way.
get their money.
Get their
right?
money.
And
so he hires Joe DeLue, a private investigator, to find Ed Shin.
Right.
And
So
that's where the plot starts thickening.
Yep.
All right, tell us what happens next, Ray.
So the private investigator starts asking around, right? It's what they do, what investigators do. And he comes across Steve Smith, Chris's dad, just in discussions with everybody, and then finds out that Chris Smith is by this time now a missing person. So now we're kind of fast forward to like April of 2011, because the family finally makes a missing persons report, because it's just become unbelievable with everything that they're finding out that Chris went to go travel the world. And they also found out Chris's passport never left the country.
Oh, okay.
So
that's when Dad was like, no.
Yeah, and so Dad is finding all this out too. So you have Dad, a former cop,
doing his own investigation. He's contacting like, I don't know, customs, or who do you call to find out has somebody's passport?
Yeah, he's calling State Department. Right. He even comes down and interviews Shin. And Shin's answers just, it's like, I don't know. He just, we were trying to do this buyout. We did the buyout. He said he was leaving. And the dad confronts Ed about the passport. Hey, the passport never left the country. I checked. Shin just smooth as silk, because he's just a liar. I'll be nice. And he said, oh, yeah, well, we went up to L.A. and Chris got a fake passport up in L.A. So that's why his passport is never going to show, because he didn't want people to know where he was going. Well, the dad's like, there's no reason for him to not want people. He's telling us where he's going. Why would he do that? It's not making sense at all. So you got this missing persons case, and the private investigators involved. He's in contact with Laguna Beach Police Department because they have the missing persons case. He's dialoguing with everybody as well, as is Steve Smith. And the office of 800 Exchange in San Juan Capistrano, it's still vacant. Nobody's rented that office space yet.
Since Chris painted the office and then moved everybody out.
Correct. So it's in pristine condition. It's secure. It's locked up. So for us, that was really good. And the private investigator takes a look, and he sees what looks like might be blood on a door jamb, and of course more suspicions. And that's when the private investigator calls us. So in our office, I just happen to be up for the next murder. We don't do by areas or anything else. It's just we rotate, and when you're up for the next murder, you're up. No matter what it is, that's your case. I was up for this one, so it was just one of those, why I got the case. And
it's like luck of the draw, right?
Right.
You don't get to pick and choose which murder you
right,
have.
Right.
You know what's so funny? I got to just give this little drop on this. So I was Garden Grove when I was in homicide. Garden Grove and Costa Mesa were my jurisdictions. And I love both of those agencies, amazing investigators. And there's this one detective at Garden Grove, Steve Heine. I love this guy, but he gets the worst, shittiest cases. Sorry, Steve. I know you listen. Yeah. That's why I'm saying this. He would always get like the very complicated, like just clusters.
Yeah.
It was like, and it wasn't even like his fault, because it was always just it seemed like the rotation, like every fourth murder was a cluster, and Steve got it.
Yeah, well, that was me. I was a shit magnet.
You were a shit magnet too,
my
right?
whole career, I was a shit magnet.
All right, but not this one. This one's juicy.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of work to do. It wasn't
This was not an easy case to prove by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. I mean, a murder-suicide, that's like super easy, and you get credit because you solved it, right?
Yeah, you're like, yeah, no shit, he left a suicide note and there's 2 dead people, and yeah, I got you.
But
this was more complicated.
One of several that, now you got to write a lot of, search warrants for banks and phones, and, which is fun, right?
And a lot of investigation goes into like finding that backstory for you to find out that he like tried to, do the ransom note with the dad,
right?
And his back history and all these emails, and I'm sure you got to get warrants and the banking records and the everything.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
was a lot. There's a lot of witnesses because Shin has just been ripping people off for 10 years, and they're all coming out of the woodwork, and it's like.
And the case is cold. I mean,
cold,
the reality is like, you really don't know where Chris is.
Right.
And, by all accounts, he could potentially have left the country with a fake phony passport, right?
Right.
Wasn't there some information that it's easy to leave through like Mexico with a fake?
Yeah, I mean, there's talk of that. Right.
But
you could cross the border, go to TJ, and boogie out of there. But it just there was just a lot of stuff going on in this case. But we also had to be careful because I didn't want Shin to know that we were investigating. Because to me, it's looking like Shin's like suspect number one here. And
okay, so at what point was he suspect number one? Because and I'm confident that I probably interrupted you, but you were telling us that Chris's dad had confronted Shin about, and as smooth as silk, he responded like, "Oh, hey, no, we dissolved the company." And didn't he give details about that meeting?
He did to several people, and Chris's dad, Steve, didn't believe it. Thought it was, and the attorney really just had a hard time believing that this company all of a sudden just got dissolved so easily when Chris was having such a hard time trying to get out of it. And then just out of the blue, it's just like, everything's great.
Yeah. Unicorns and puppies.
Yeah.
He signed off, and I'm going to go travel the world with my gold coins and money that he gave me.
Right. And, it's like, well, okay, where'd the money go? So we're hearing, Shin is like, well, and he's not telling us this, he's telling other people this. Well, Chris said to send the money to an offshore account. He didn't want it to be traceable. So, like, this stuff is just, it's not adding up for a legit business deal. It's just not sounding kosher at all. So there's all kinds of red flags going on, but we're just trying to be careful because I don't even know where Ed Shin is at this point. And, if we start probing the wrong people, he gets wind of it. If he's responsible for it, he could be gone. So that's
kind of a tightrope, I think, that a lot of homicide investigators have to walk.
Yeah.
Right?
Big time.
Where you're like, all right, we're on to this guy and we want to dig deep into things, but we might dime him off and he could flee. And then because we don't have enough information yet to file on him or even keep him in the country.
Right.
And this guy could flee and then we're shit out of luck.
Right. And, at this point also, a lot of weird things, but we don't even have evidence of a crime yet. We don't have a crime scene.
Do they train you on how to walk that tightrope?
You just kind of on the job training.
Okay. You just realize well, that didn't work out. And the guy
and good DAs who also, we bounce stuff off each other.
Okay. Were you bouncing stuff off Matt Murphy, even though we're mad at him for not signing your book yet?
I couldn't even get a hold of the guy. He's like, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we were, Matt was great. He's great. He's there.
If it's a case. Yeah. Us, peasants.
Right.
Right. Like, he doesn't need to call us back. But if you're an investigator on a case he's working, he's gone.
Well, and I didn't know Murphy because Murphy wasn't a sheriff's DA.
You're right. He was Laguna Beach, Newport Beach, and Costa Mesa. Yeah, right. I took his caseload from Costa Mesa.
So, I had Brahim Beitai. So he's a phenomenal prosecutor. And
Brahim's amazing.
And
now a judge.
Right. And so it's like, well, it's kind of originated in Laguna Beach. So you got to call this Murphy guy. I'm like, I don't even know who this Murphy guy is. Right. So anyway, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. So the first thing is I want to get to the office.
Joe DeLue sees blood.
Yeah. And I hear he calls us. He's like, something's up. You got to come check this out.
It looks like blood on was it light switch?
It was a door jam.
Oh, a door jam.
Yeah, initially, from what I knew. But it was all, so I'm like, well, this is even our case. So I've got a network with Laguna Beach because technically it's their case. It's their missing person. But hey, let's go together and look at this office in San Juan Capistrano and see what we have.
Okay, for our listeners, because, you and I have lived in the criminal underbelly for many years, but a lot of our listeners don't know this, that like the way cases get handled is jurisdictionally. So if someone gets murdered in your jurisdiction, so Laguna Beach PD handles all cases in Laguna Beach.
Right.
Right. And so if you're a sheriff's deputy, you don't cover Laguna Beach because Laguna Beach covers that. So
Correct.
It wouldn't be your jurisdiction to handle that murder. It's Laguna Beach. And sometimes, and I'm not suggesting Laguna Beach was this way, but sometimes, if there's other agencies involved, there's kind of like territorial, like this is our case.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like they want to handle the cases because then they look bad. Like, why is the sheriff's handling a Laguna Beach case, right?
Right.
Okay.
And we explained that, and they already knew about Joe DeLue and what he was doing because he was in contact with them. So we make an appointment with the property management who's agreed to let us in. It's still vacant. We're now about a year from the date of this fax to the attorney from Chris dissolving the company. So we're a year behind.
Oh, wow. So Chris has been gone for a year.
Yeah. And
this is really cold at this point.
yeah, but the office is vacant still. And
hallelujah. Praise the Lord
right?
on that one, Ray.
So just as a precaution, I call our crime lab and we get them to come. Laguna Beach comes. I go. My partner comes down and we start seeing blood, not only on the door jamb, but blood, what appears to be blood, on light switch. Blood looks like spatter on office door, on the inside of the door, like with the naked eye, like up on the ceiling.
Like you didn't need, what's that light called?
Luminol or anything
Luminol.
like that, black light, whatever. We didn't need it. No, it's there. And I'm like, holy shit, like, let's start pulling up carpet. So our CSI people are taking pictures, and I'm like, this is not looking good. And we pull up carpet, and it's our scene. This is our murder scene. Because
there's blood everywhere.
Just stains.
Wasn't there even blood on the ceiling?
There was, yeah.
Yeah.
But just under the carpet, on the back of the carpet, the padding, even down to the concrete, there was stains that were just huge stains.
Wow.
And
okay, so I know just because, the things I know, but you can clean a carpet at the top and it looks clean to the naked eye, but deep down there's more stains, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And to me, I'm like, that's got to be blood, right? I mean, just so, of course, but our lab folks, they're going to have to, swab it, test it. Mm-hmm. We took a lot of carpet as evidence from that. I think we took the office door too. It was just a lot. And it was such big, what appeared to be, if it was blood, it would have pooled a lot. That's a death scene. And so
it's not like you cut your finger and dripped on the carpet.
Right.
You're talking like somebody's head was cut open or other body part and bleeding a lot.
Yeah. And that combined with the story of the office was repainted. And this is after the carpet's been cleaned a couple times.
So tell us about the paint, Ray.
Yeah. So Shin got asked the maintenance guy about a painter. Hey, can you, we had some stains. My business partner, Ed's story was vomited and spilt wine all over the office the night,
They dissolved the company.
Yeah.
That was his drunk. Story was Chris was there. He was drunk and he barfed up red wine all over and it stained the carpet.
Because sometimes he would binge, right? That's what Ed's, story is.
Oh, he was a binge drinker, and he threw up red wine on the carpet, and I had to have it cleaned. Right.
Not once, but twice. Mm-hmm. So we actually found...
Is that the story that he fed the coworkers on why they needed a...
He didn't give that graphic detail, but he told the maintenance person, and he told... workers, maintenance people he found in the penny saver back in the old penny saver days. Because 15 years ago, and got them to clean the carpet not once but twice and repaint the office, which clearly didn't work. It wasn't enough. And on top of not paying his rent. So
he painted Chris's office and like a wall in the hallway or something?
Yeah, several places. Oh, yeah.
He painted what color? Brown?
Man, I don't remember.
I think it was brown.
Yeah, I don't remember. So we've got all that stuff, but we still just have massive amounts of blood evidence. Turned out to be blood. Got the profile from the parents because we don't have Chris, so we swabbed the parents. Got DNA from the parents. That blood is Chris Smith's.
Wow.
So that's now we know we've got a murder and we've got our murder scene.
Interesting. This is fascinating. All right. Well, Ray, we're out of time for this episode. So we're going to have to find out what happens on the next episode.
Okay.
So all you listeners, I know you're dying to hear the rest of the story, as am I. I'm fascinated. And so, wow. All right. We're going to have to cut this one, but we're having you back for the next episode so you can tell us what happens with Chris Smith, who was murdered by Ed Shin. We know that now. Not a spoiler alert, but you got to hear how the story unfolds and how Matt Murphy brought it home and got the jury to convict in 40 minutes. See, Murphy, I'm making up for all the shit talking I was doing about you during this episode, but we love you. And we're going to see you next time on the Defeating Darkness. And, on the Defeating Darkness, on Defeating the Darkness. And, and if you can't find the light in the darkness, be the light. And more importantly, we're going to hear more on the next episode about how Ray Wert was the light in the darkness for the Christmas family. I think that's amazing. I can't wait to hear the rest of the story.
Right. I'll be there.
All right, so hang tight. We'll see you very, very soon. Until we see you next time. So long now.
Be the light, shine so bright.